Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Parampara Sakanavavatu Sakanopunaktu Sakaviryam Karavavake Tejasvina Madhidamastamavat Vishavake. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sarirasya Javaityakena Yopa Krotmam Pravaram Muninam Patanjali Pranjali Manadosmi. Namaskaram. So we are in the first sutra of Patanjali. So as usual, we will just have a very quick recap before we proceed to the next one. So we saw the meaning of the word yoga and sutra. Sutram is that which is alpakshram, asangittam, saravat, and so on and so forth. Sutram also means a thread. The bijaksharam, the root word su means to stitch, to join, to connect, to seam. So sutram is the thread in which this garland of Yoga Sutra is compiled. So in any garland you see, you have the flowers of different hue, or maybe the many flowers of same hue. They're all very systematically tied up so that it looks beautiful. Now when we're analyzing this mala, therefore, we go through the sutram, the thread, and identify the different flowers of different hue and colors. So this is given in this 196 pushpams. So we see that way. The reason I say that because each flower is in a way related to other flower, but sometimes it gives you very different insight into. So I'm preempting this because I may have to jump across some sutras at some stage so that it gives you a good context of it. Okay. So the first one, Atha Yoganusashanam. Atha Yoganusashanam. We saw this contains 4 words, Ataha, Yogaha, Anusashanam. So we already saw that. Here he starts the introduction to the delivery that he's going to make, which is Yoga Sashanam. But this Yoga Sashanam, the yoga discipline, is something which has been coming across many generations as a parampara. So if you look at the Lakshyarthas for the Atha and Anu, Atha has got, say, 3 meanings. First is the Arambartham. Atha means now. Atha also has a Mangalartham. We talked about it. Atha is like the sound of the word Om. Therefore, we can say it's in this auspicious moment. But an important Lakshyartham for Atha is afterwards. Hence, therefore. After what? After the seeker, that is you and I, have come to the commitment that this is the right time for me to learn this knowledge. Because imparting there's an injunction given to the Shastris in the Shastras that one should impart the knowledge only to those who have the right desire, the right commitment for it. So therefore there's an implication here that we are all committed to follow through. And this is substantiated by the other word, Anu. Anu again we got a couple of interpretation. The first one we saw, it is not something that Patanjali is creating this idea, but he is following what is already there in the Guru Parampara. But the more important understanding for us, that it is for anusantanam. This anusashanam has to be for anusantanam. Santana means to practice it, to be inculcating it. Therefore, we are also committing that this discipline that he is giving now to us has to be eternally practiced, not an end to it. Therefore, we commit to learn, we commit to practice, and the practice will never end. Why it should not end? It will end when the end goal is achieved. So what is the end goal? In the Yoga Darshana, the end goal is yoga itself. So we haven't really learned what the teacher hasn't told us what is yoga means in this context. But we know that we need to have an eternal practice for it. If you come from Vedanta, as we are, for us we know the eternality is the fulfillment of moksha. We know what is moksha is. It is not something we get after the death. In this janma itself. Ika bhava sukham. Therefore, don't think that we are learning this yoga sastram so that we can get happiness somewhere else, sometime in the future. No, it is for now. So this is what we learned in the first sutra. Now we go for the second one. Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Again, we look at the literal meaning of the words and we go for the deep import. So, Yoga, the first word. So this is just a singular. Yoga is Chitta. We need to know what is Chitta is. Let's use the word mind field or mind stuff. Just to say it is something beyond the mind. We'll see what it is. Chitta. Vritti is the next word. Okay, we just now heard the vritti that in Bhagavad Gita lecture as well. So vritti, again, we need to understand in great detail. Let's say it is a kind of a modification, a fluctuation, a change, something arising, something decaying, something like that. So the mind field modification, the last word is nirodha. So we're going to use the meaning for this word, a regulation. We will see what other meanings possible and why they don't apply correctly in a minute. Therefore, the literal meaning for us, yogas chitta vritti nirodha, is yoga is the regulation of the fluctuations of the mind field. Bit complicated, but we will see. We just now heard about the, Antya Bhavana, to say Narayana at the last time. So you don't think Narayana by the letter itself has got the lot of importance on it. But they say that to have the Shraddha, therefore, it can be instilled in your mind because that Nama will lead to the Bhavam. The Bhavam is whatever the Saguna Brahman that you have in your mind. So you're already talking here about the regulating that thought. So, therefore, this is not just for this moksha sadhana rahasyam, it is regulating the thought is also an important part of our life. If you really take a step back and look at the issues that we have in life that gives us grief, 95% of it is non-biological. This is psychic, mental. But if you look at the effort we put in to take care of that important aspect of our embodiment, which is the mind, this effort has to be very conscious effort. You don't imagine taking a bath. You go to the bathroom, take the shower, use the shampoo, apply the soap, feel yourself good. There is no bhavana. You do a deliberate action. Is it not? But if mind is an embodiment, just think about it. How many times we bathe our mind? What kind of tools, what kind of shampoo we apply to the mind? If 95% of the problem is coming from the embodiment, which is subtle, which is called mind, and what kind of effort we put in to make purification. Therefore, it is thank you to Mahatma Vivekananda who brought back this from the dustbin of our intellectual depository in Sanatana Dharma, this Patanjali's Yoga Sastra, and introduced to the West. And West took it because this is an important tool to enjoy this Eka Bhava Sukha. Sometimes we miss the point. We say that, look, Vedanta does not say don't enjoy this life. If you don't need to enjoy life, it's an insult to the God, is it not? If a wife is giving a food and you just come from the Vedanta class, food is just an inert object to sustain life. I'm not living for eating. Therefore, I eat like a robot. You're missing the point. Enjoyment is the essence of life. But the enjoyment is not in the object, but it's in the enjoyer. That is Vedanta. Therefore, don't ever think if you are a Vedantic person or if you are on a spiritual path, you don't enjoy a good food. You enjoy it. But when you enjoy it, are you in control? Because if the enjoyment is on the food itself, when you're not able to eat the food, this very hard murukku or whatever they say is very interesting to eat. But when my teeth are gone, I am old now. When somebody is eating that stuff, I can't eat it. It gives me tabam. What happened? You suffer. Why? Because your boga ayatanam, your body is not able to support you to eat that, but your mind is eating it. It's not finding the taste. Lack of nirodham. Many psychic disorders, I'm not a professional guy to talk about it, but I know as a common man, is a real joke. There's something called a DSM manual, called Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorder. It's kind of a Bible which the US makes and similar things in each country. And it is growing in size. As of last year, it's like 346 or 86 different mental disorders. And they have a very princely statements and a very neat marking methodology where you go with your trigger of Q, you will tick 4 out of 5, you tick, you will fall into a mental disorder problem. The sadness is, the professional journals talk about it, 97% of this DSM manual, the cause has been identified as 3%, a biological reason. So 97% of this disorders they identified, there is no biological cause. But the pharmaceutical industry is piling on it. Research is going on to somehow correlate the the neurotransmitters in our nervous system to the disorders. And neurotransmitters are biochemical material. Therefore, chemical modification will improve it. Therefore, we are subjecting people to drug abuse. So all these things like anxiety, attention deficient, hyper ADHDs and bipolar, there's no biological reasons for it. So when the conscious scientist thought about it and said, look, this is too much, then they brought in exception, like, there's a clause called bereavement exclusion. So if somebody is dead in your family and you grieve and you are not able to see things right, so there's an exclusion clause. Okay, what about a divorce problem? What about a business loss problem? What about you can't eat the muruku problem? See, problems are relative to your expectation on things. So how do you do exclusion clauses now? Now what I'm saying is, our world has turned into objectified science. We are trying to bring in kind of a capitalistic solution to a spiritual problem. I know I'm digressing it, but I wanted to impose this point that don't discard studies of this subject as non-science. What is science? We have two benchmarks for science, right? It has to be objective. Objective means it has to be experimented. But experiment is what? When this coronavirus vaccine has come up, we are waiting in the queue to get it injected because it's scientifically proven. But did you see the experiment? No. Did you see the experience of it? No. But somebody has done it. There's evidence of it. So therefore, the experience of somebody is good enough. It's not your experience yet. But again, if the experience itself, if you look at it, it is not coming very scientifically, is it? Because the science uses the word experiment, not experience. Experiment is the quantified results of an experience. Therefore, somewhere you apply your perception, your quantification. I'm going back to Vedanta, but it is necessary. Anything that you see, I see this light, I see you, I see this computer, but I know my brain is what is, we are looking at the computational representative model in our brain. It has no hearing inside. It takes all this three-dimensional object I see, it transfers to the two-dimensional image in my retina, and then it goes through some chemical signals, electric signals, and then some computational power recomputes it and create not just four-dimensional one, time-based one. So if it is recreating it, it is not what is actually there out there. I'm not saying this. It is science in the published paper says this. Everything is hallucination, but we call it reality. Don't be ashamed. This is the scientific paper says all the hallucination is what we call reality. But can we not see the reality? No. If the apparatus is physical instruments, chemical signals, electrical signals, some neuron computation, and therefore you create a consciousness. Therefore, it is synthetic output. If this is the instrument I have, I can never see the reality. Therefore, what I see is an objective reality, which I assumed certain truth to it. The world is accepted that we are all living happily in this. But the Vedanta said, yeah, but we are looking at the perfect language. For what you are looking at is, let's not call it truth, let's call it mithya. When Shankara said, or Gaudapada said, there was an uproar. Even the scholars in India was fighting against this. It is not illusion, it is not Maya. How can you say Maya? I can touch it. But they missed the point. So, what is happening is we live in a world of creation by the mind. So your mind and my mind. And it creates a commonality. We will see how the commonality comes in. And we are accepted to live with this. We walk on the eggshell. If I want to say, declare it, become a dhira, it is illusion. We don't say it because our world collapses. Who wants to collapse this world? Therefore, Yoga's Chitta Nirodha is telling us that if you don't want to take that huge step of transmigrating this vicious circle of it, at least enjoy this eggshell that you have, knowing that you see exactly what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, you can be free from this trouble of being tossed around by this perception that you see. For that, you need to have the mind purified. Bathe your mind. How do I bathe my mind? Yoga. If I bathe my mind, what do I get? Yoga. So yoga is everything. Patanjali says in this verse, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So therefore we understand the context in which he talks about it. Okay, yoga is a very big word with so many, Vishuddhamukha, so many different meanings. But when you're reading a medical journal, you take the medical terms and follow that. Therefore, when you're learning this Patanjali's science, we must use his words, his meaning, his context. So, what do we normally say? We say, oh, I am learning yoga. I am buying yoga book. I'm looking at the internet for the yoga. I'm getting yoga material. I'm buying a yoga mat. So when we do all this, we use the word yoga as a sadhana, a means. Is it not? Yoga is a means. In Bhagavad Gita, we say Vishada Yogam, whereas the Vishadam is the grief, is used as a means to get knowledge. If Arjuna is happy to live with this Vishadam, okay, I'll have a couple of glass of wine and go to sleep, I'll be fine. Then he is not using the Vishadam to elevate himself. He used the Vishadam as a sadhanam and went to Krishna and said, please help me out. God is there to help you out. So he says in the 10th chapter we saw, says, Deshame Vanukam Partham Aham Ajnanajam Tamaha. It's a beautiful verse. But Bhagavan says, out of compassion, I will come to you, and your darkness that you have in your heart, called tamaha, tamas, I will light up inside you to remove this darkness. Jnana deepena. Jnana deepena bhasvata. Luminous jnana deepam, God is promising you. Just let him come in. He's already there. But know that he is there. The jnana deepam he's going to light up. But the jnana deepam, that thread that is going to light up is your mind. But when you light the lamp in your puja room, the lamp has to have a ghee or oil, and then you need to have a thread, and thread has to be triggered and sharpened up. So yoga is the sharpening tool of the thread of the mind. Therefore, it is a sadhana. Correct. But then you execute it. It's called chalanam. It's a process. So I come to your house, and so you say, oh, he's busy, he's upside down. What's he doing? He's doing sirasasana. Or he is doing something else. So if you are employing the sadhanam into an action, you say, I'm doing yoga abhyas. I'm doing yoga. So the sadhanam becomes now a chalanam, a process. Is it not? We use the word as well. So, but then those who have done all this, and we call them yogi. Yogi is one who's got the yogavan. Dhanavan is one who's got a dhanam. So therefore yoga becomes an attainment, a sadhana. I want to attain yoga, you can say. So therefore, it's one of those rare words in Sanskrit which can be applied in many contexts. A sadhanam, an instrument, a chalanam, a process, a sadhyam, an attainment. So here, we need to understand, potentially using it as a sadhyam. What is a sadhyam? Sadhyam means lakshyam. That's why it's called a Nirdesha Sutra. A sutra that defines Lakshya Sutra. We are going to see at the end of this chapter also, he's going to say what we achieved. A good literature, good discourse, a good essay should say what I am saying, what I'm going to say, and what I said. So Chitta Vritti Nirodham is the sadhyam that yoga going to give. Okay. So we are going to define the yoga further as a chalanam, as a sadhanam, yoga abhyasam, pranayamam, all this we are going to come as a sadhanas. But remember, it is the sadhyam is Chitta Shuddhi. So what is the next one? Chitta Vritti. There are two words, Chitta and Vritti. I'm going to take adequate time for this sutra because this is the one sutra and this is the next one, second and third. If you don't understand, you will not understand the rest of it. And this is very important to realize that. So therefore, we'll see here two words, Chitta and Vritti. We already see the word Chitta in Tattvabodha, remember? So we will see how this is going to be used in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So, Antakarana. We use the word Antakarana in Tattvabodha. Anta means inside. Karana means instrument. The subtle embodiment. There are 4 types of instruments we saw. Everything's under the term mind, we call it. Buddhi, Ahankara, Manas, and Chittam. So Buddhi is the intellectual part. In fact, I would say, if you go into detail, Buddhi has got 2 aspects to it. When it is analyzing the outward triggers, it's called intellect. When it is looking internally and analyze it, it's called intuitive. So intellectual process and the intuitional process. Both are done by that part of the... Right now, imagine as if it is a kind of an organ, we are slicing it, right? This is not. Let's be like a scientist, mad scientist, that is. The buddhi is that part. Ahankara is the one that takes ownership, the internalizing it and owning it. Ownership means I. So the moment you put I in front of it, Ahankara plays a role. And as soon as the buddhi comes in, ahankara comes very quickly. We will see how. Then there is manas, which is, should I listen to this lecture? Should I answer the phone? Should I eat that food? Not contemplating, but indecisiveness. It's a canvas of thoughts. And Chittam applies the ahankara and maybe some buddhi as well to individualize these thoughts. So it gives a shape to it. I am listening to the yoga class. I must actually listen to this in deeper. Maybe I should read it tomorrow. What happened to the milk that is boiling in the kitchen? And when these thoughts become individualized and the intensity becomes stronger, Chitta makes it as a memory. So in Vedanta, we use the word Chittam to denote memory. But here, we are going to use it for the whole thing as a mind field. So buddhi, ahankaram, manas, chittam together is the mind field. To address a particular faculty, for example, the thoughts coming and going, we may define the chittam to be the manas and the chittam faculty. And then when we evolve into a higher state of samadhi, for example, we will include ahankara. So we will vary the focus of chitta, but when I say mind field, we therefore take the whole antakarma. So the antakarana, the whole faculties have got three dispositions. Disposition means in three different ways they can exist, execute, and impact. The first one is called prakya. It's illumination. It should come to your mind. You're talking about the mind field is a prakriti, an inert object. Prakriti is made up of three gunas we saw before. Therefore, if I say illumination, it is knowing. Therefore, it is sattva guna. If I call the whole mind field as chitta, and it is full of sattva guna, I can give a different name to it called chitta sattva. We will redefine the term later, but right now we just think that the mind is full of sattva guna. It's called illumination, chitta sattva. If it is full of sattva guna, full of knowledge, the knowledge is called khyati. Khyati also means jnanam in Sanskrit. Prakhyati. Full of this knowledge. Is there a state like that? Can be just be sattva guna with full of jnana, chitta sattva? Is there? More or less, this is what we are going to find out. But if you are able to be in that chitta sattva state, naturally we will have four important aims for us. In fact, Vyasa Bhashya says it's not even attribute, it becomes an attribute. It is not something you aim for it. You will have this inherently. What are the four? Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Aishwarya. Sometime before we talked about Dharma is a process to achieve. Jnana is something you must learn. Vairagya you must develop. But here actually what it means is that if you are able to be in that chitta sattva state, all these are in your qualities without effort. That's why the yoga darshana and yoga marga is very enticing, because it is telling you by some practice, if you reach a state, many things will come to you without effort. We will take it very carefully, but here right now we take it that if you are able to be in this, you get dharma, dharma what it is. Jnanam, Vairagyam, and Aishwarya. Aishwaryam is not money. No, we say Aishwaryam is money. Aishwaryam is come from the word Ish. Ish means lordship, to rule. Ishvara come from the word Ish. Aishwarya means lordship over situations. Okay, people further define it in a final way. Because we find in this world, money is giving you lordship. Therefore, we correlate Aishwarya Lakshmi is just pouring money. If you go and pray to Aishwarya Lakshmi, you become a millionaire. We think that way. But the other aspect is pravritti, endeavor. So you must correlate this mind to be knowing as the first part. Second one is doing. Your mind needed to do things. Endeavor. But doing is actually action, karma. It's called vritti. So now you see, subtle insight here. Action is endeavor. Vritti is endeavor. But vritti is action. But we are going to say vritti is the thought modification. So if you really catch this one, therefore you will see, when we are talking about the vritti in Yoga Shastra, we are going to look at the vrittis or thoughts that leads more into endeavors. That means there may be thoughts which are not leading to endeavor, but for pure elimination. See, we will see how it goes. So pravritti is endeavor, but pravritti is, of course, rajasic in nature, action, passion, do things. Don't we need to do action? Of course, we need to do action. The mind is also going through, but can the mind be full of action all the time? No, it cannot. But it does go through the pravritti part. Then you know the next one, sthiti. Stasis means, I think it's got both way, stability as well as stagnation. If I just stagnate, my mind cannot think anymore, I confused, delusion, moha, nature of tamasic. Or I go to sleep, no endeavor, no elimination. I sleep. Laziness. But is not sleep a state of affair? We have to be very careful here. We're going to use two different words for sleep in Sanskrit. Sushupti and Nidra. Sushupti is a state, like Jagrada is a state in Vedanta Visa, Jagra state, Swapna state. But here we are talking about the causes of the state. Everything is mind, thoughts. Therefore, we are going to use everything called Nidra. So Nidra is a thought that gives you in the state. Like, I have to really beat that person. The anger is a thought that comes to me, and therefore I do an angry action. It's very subtle, but just hold on to it right now. We'll explore it later. So Nidra is a thought that will come, and the action will be sleep. It's beautiful, isn't it? So it's not that sleep is actionless. Sleep is an action done by the thought Nidra, Vritti Nidra. Only if you hold this assumption, it's not assumption, but it's the truth, but hold the assumption, you can move the problem into a bigger scale, and then we can see why the assumption is right. Okay, so simply put, mind goes through the three stages: elimination, endeavor, and it's confusion. Now, that's fine. If you give me like this three stages, and if I know what state I am in, I'm fine. I mean, why should I have to worry about it? I want to be in an eliminated state. I know I am in this prakya state. I hold on to it for more time. For example, this whole class, I don't want to sleep. I don't want to fiddle with my SMS messaging. I want to focus on the eliminated thoughts. If I know this, I just put myself into this. Can I do it? We try to do it. But we can't do it because the gunas mutate. Sattvam doesn't stay in one place, Rajas doesn't stay, Tamas doesn't stay, they mutate. When they mutate, new vrittis come, new thoughts come. Therefore, the I, the ahankara, if I say the I is the ahankara, you can see ahankara is part of this mind field. Therefore, I get convoluted, I get mutated. I don't have control on this. So if you are in the quicksand and if you're drowning, you cannot help yourself. You need somebody outside it. But if you can help yourself, that's a massive effort. It's called bootstrapping in computer technology. Computer says booting. What is booting means? Lifting oneself with your own boot. We have to bootstrap ourselves. We have to really rise our consciousness, awake, arise. When Ramana Maharshi was asked, somebody asked the question to Ramana Maharshi, tell me in one word what is your Darshana is. Of course, Bhagavan doesn't deal with this kind of a silly question, but I think he was very merciful and he said, attention. Then he went back to his silent eloquence. Attention. You have to be attentive to it. The attention will allow you to remove these convolution mutations. So I try to give you a little example with this. So the first chittam and vritti is this. Now, we are talking about, therefore, bathing this mind, shampooing with the right shampoo, dusting it off, purifying it. Therefore, we need to somehow objectify this. Objectify this. So therefore, I invite you to visualize things. Don't afraid to visualize. Visualization is a very important process in knowledge. In every science, in every, especially human science, behavioral science, visualize it. In yoga, it's very important to visualize it. So let's visualize. So this is the mind, antakarana, chittam. Now, maybe visualize it with going to a movie, right? We go to a movie, we want to watch the movie. The observer of the movie is your consciousness, the real learner in you, right? Your instruments, which is going to watch the movie and suffer this agony of watching that movie, will be the manas. So you're sitting in the theater. Manas is the theater, it's the canvas where it's going to come. Nothing is there. Then the projector is on, the light comes in. This is not in you. It is a borrowed license. It's coming from somewhere else. You are blessed to be there. You got the ticket to be in the embodiment. And therefore the movie is coming from the effulgence. What we called it? Chit in Vedanta. Don't confuse the chit with chittam. Chit is the consciousness. It is always blowing, the effulgence is coming. In the yoga parlance, in the Sankhya philosophy, let us say this to be Purusha. Not exactly, but let's assume that Purusha. But the mind is not seeing it yet. To see that, to get animated, we take out a particular part of the mind. What is that we will take out? Prakya. What is that? The buddhi. Therefore, let's take the buddhi, go near the light. As soon as the buddhi is capturing the chit, the effulgence of Atma, the mind is pure. The screen is illuminated, white screen. What are you going to call it now? This one, Chitta, Sattva. Imagine you go to the theater, buy the ticket, projector is on, you see the white screen, you scream. This is not what I want to see. Who wants to see the white screen? Paying ticket. I want to see images. I want to have emotions. I want to run around things because I came to this theater. So the ahankara comes in. Don't take the example literally. I'm just trying to articulate so that you can see the differences that we need to manage the buddhi and ahankara. The ahankara filter comes in. The moment ahankara filter comes in, what happened? Like a television starts, you see many, many, many things. All this thing happening without control. What is all this happening on the screen? The television is switched on, it's just running around like this. We call it noise in the RF frequency panel. It's a noise, but every noise bit is an information. So if you're able to decode them, it becomes information. If you do not decode them, it's a noise. But the noise has got an impact on you. This is called vritti. So vritti is not the individual dot, the fluctuations of the dots. Coming, going, intensifying, less intensifying. This vritti is happening all the time. Like if you're on the television, all the time it is there. Because the atmosphere is full of this electronic noise. When the antenna cable comes into television, the noise is spread out. But each noise carries the information. If the skybox is there, it decodes and gets into some messages. But in the consciousness, we have not done that yet. We got this ahankara, buddhi is there. See, I give you another insight. When you get up in the morning, in a deep sleep, sushupti when you get up, in a fraction of a second, this chittahasam, the chit effulgence coming out, the buddhi is there, you have a white screen in your mind. That time is called Brahma Muhurta. You cannot sustain it too long. Maybe you and I cannot do it when you don't have practice. Because the moment that buddhi comes in, the aham vritti comes in very quickly. I got it. You get it. The moment I comes in, mind becomes this. But even this is better because you cannot really decode anything. You got a confused state. You just get up there. That's the reason why that is a good time to do meditation. Brahma Muhurtam, they say. But we go to deep sleep. And then we get up. The moment the Brahma Muhurtam is gone, every time you get up, you cannot get up from the deep sleep. You always get up from the Swapna. The Swapna may not be cognized by you. Sometimes you may cognize, sometimes you may not. But 99.9% of the time, you don't come up from the sushupti. We come from the Swapna state. That's why your mind will never have this kind of a clarity. Okay, that's a different point. Now, what do I do? Then I take, let's call this thing as a chittam right now because we are talking about the vritti nirodham. Therefore, we leave the buddhi and ahankaram side. Where this activity is happening, the red box I put in there is a chitta. But then, once the projector is put to the film there, what is the film? The film is about Vishayas and Vasanas. I see people, I see a relationship, I see emotions. Now I individualize it. The Chittam becomes very prominent now, becomes ownership of my person, my family, my sister, my wife. Ahankaram comes in, Mamakaram comes in, memory comes in. The film changes to different scenes, a different memory comes in. So I try to give you this chitta vritti this way. Now, if I need to purify it, if I need to discipline this, I need to have some sort of placement for it. So we will do some sort of placement. Again, this is also given in a very beautiful way in Sanatana Dharma. In everything that we do in Sanatana Dharma is to give you visualization. Saguna Brahman is a visualization. How can you teach the young child? You cannot understand Swami, it is incomprehensible. No, you would say, this is God. Give it iconography. Ideally, you give something which is enchanting and mesmerizing. A Krishna with a beautiful smile. So don't think that this is only for fooling the young children to learn something in discipline. In life, you always have visual symbol to fool ourselves. Everything is a visual. Like, in the history of Vivekananda's life, one atheist asked, why are you worshipping pictures and all this and gods? And Vivekananda asked the questioner to put his father's photograph on the floor and he can step on it. And he said, no, you can't do it. Because the moment you put attachment to a image, your impact changes, intensity changes. Therefore, visual thinking is important science tool in yoga. So therefore, leveraging on it, let's see. I told you the vritti comes in. Imagine a pond of water and somehow there is a bubble, air bubble is coming from the bottom, a methane gas coming from the underfloor earthquake or whatever. The bubble comes in, comes up, ripples comes in, ripple goes through. Now this would be a good example for you to visualize it, how the vrittis in mind happens. Now you may ask the question, where is the bubble coming from? That's a vasana, samskara. Your thought, you cannot say, why I'm thinking this. We quickly, our ahankaram owns up. I thought about it. I planned it. I wish. You didn't plan it. You didn't thought about it. Thought came to you. You're holding on to it. Like a child comes to you, he becomes my child. So this is vasana. But I also see things outside. When I listen to you, I think about yoga. When I see you, I think about something related to your commitment. So therefore, there is a bubble coming from Vishayas, a bubble coming from Vasana. Vishayas are infinite, Vasanas are infinite. Therefore, there are infinite bubbles coming in. They come and drop in my mind. Ripples come out. Therefore, how can I have a still mind? You must be joking. So there is no way I can have a still mind because there is no place where there is no Vishaya. There is a place where there is no Vishaya and the place is nothing is Shunya. My Vasanas are infinite. Therefore, let us moderate our ambition. Let us not go to a place where there is nothing there, but I'm able to control this drops. So that's the first step. To do that, I need to place it. So the placement comes to, in yogas gives you in so many, I'm not going to go in great detail, but you go to some yoga school, they will say chakras. Different chakras are there. And you can meditate on this chakra, on this chakra. It is giving you a placement. So we can say the buddhi is in the forehead. I'm giving a white lie right now. I don't know, nobody knows it. But it is very effective to placement. Buddhi is in the forehead. Ladadam, Rudra, see Rudramish talks about this forehead all the time. This is like a bow. In Rudram is talking about the bow and arrow. Control the bow. Because anger comes in my bow. So buddhi. Ahankaram is the back of the head. We say head weight, we say egoity. Medulla oblongata, which is the place where everything about consciousness comes in. To I'm the one. So this placement is only to, when you do dhyanam, to give a bathing those faculties. So you focus on this. Yoga says you focus on this point. That means focus on the buddhi. That means focus on your intellect. As simple as that. But we are talking about chittam here. Chittam is the heart. Heart is a hridaya sthanam. Just look at the time. Hridaya sthanam. It's not the physical heart. Well, this is very debatable. I mean, you must take it as Shraddha. Bhagavan Ramana says hridaya sthanam is somewhere in the right side. When you ask, did you do it? I say, no, I didn't do it. When I say I touch my heart. You don't say I do it. I don't say my brain. I don't say my left heart. I don't bring my heart hand to this end. I just say. So it's just a logical place. I mean, but heart. You also, when you have very emotional thing, your heart hurts, right? My heartache. So the vritti's impact is high in the heart. So there's a hridaya sthanam. Imagine a hridaya sthanam. Bhagavatam even goes in one step ahead. It says, oh, there's a hridaya sthanam in your, it is like your fist, and then like a thumb size, there is an Atma. If you take Krishna is lying there. Lord. So all this is psyching you to focus your mind into the imagery. There is one mantra in Untitled Chapter. Para pratyakshiti rupa, pashyanti paradevada, madhyama vaikari rupa, bhaktamanasa hamsika. Ambal is worshipped. Ambal is who? Ambal is Shakti, Maya Shakti. So bhaktamanasa hamsika, in the mind of the bhaktas, devotees, she is like a hamsa. Well, Lord Krishna said about, he's like a jnana deepa. So imagery. Hamsam is a bird normally found in tranquil waters. It is always, it's not a legend, it's also generally true. It is always in a tranquil water. When it moves with such a majesty without creating ripples. Therefore, Bhakta Manasa Hamsika means Ambal is there as a Hamsa means when the mind is pure and still. But that's not what we are focusing on. But he says, Para Pashyanti Madhyama Vaikari Rupa. Pratyak Chiti Rupa. He comes to the mind. How? In 4 parts. He comes as Parashakti we say. What do you mean she comes? I never seen Ambal coming to me. Ambal is seen as Chit Shakti and Jada Shakti. Ambal has got 2 forms, Jada Shakti and Chit Shakti. Chit Shakti means sentient principle. Jada Shakti means physical principle. My body is Ambal, Swan, God. My wisdom is Ambal. Therefore, I worship both my body and my mind, my knowledge. But the body is Jadam. But when it animated, the Shakti comes out. The Shakti has come out and as a vision, as hearing, as doing something, as speaking something. In Lalita Chakrashanamam, this whole Yoga Darshana is given in the form of Vak Devata. Because maybe it's a different day, we can talk about it. So the Vak Devata is the one who worships the Ambal. By worshipping, the Vak Devata is giving this yoga knowledge, Yoga Darshana knowledge. So here it's saying, the speech I make out is the manifestation of the Shakti. Comes, you hear now, I speak, you hear. But it doesn't come just like that. It comes as a vritti from the bottom. How does it come? It comes as a Parashakti in the Mooladhara Chakra. There is, so therefore what I am saying now is not I, the Ahankara I, the Raja is saying, no. This is already there in a form, in a bija form, bija shakti, in my Mula Shakti. I don't know. I just worship it. So that it keeps on giving me more and more. Therefore, I worship Parashakti. Then it comes to, I'm not going to go into chakras and all this right now, it will confuse you. It comes to my middle of the body as Pashyanti. Pashyanti means, Pashya means to see, but here it means to feel. Where do you normally feel? You don't say, I feel, no. You don't say, I feel. You touch your tummy, gut feeling. I got a feeling. I'm fearful, I'm joyful. I have some insight. You feel, gut feeling. So in your Manipurakam, in your tummy, in your navel, when the para comes as, the vritti comes as Pashyanti, you are able to feel it. But can I know it? If you are a yogi, you can know it. But then it comes up there. It comes to my heart, Madhyama, Anahata Chakram. You are able to see as a thought. Okay, I will say today this, I will say this way in the class. I will say this way in this class. So I am able to formulate a thought in my mind thanks to the Shakti of Pashyanti and Para. Again, it is not heard by you. It's not known by you because it has to now get a gross form. Vaikari. Here we are talking about the Vak Shakti manifestation. Therefore, Vak is coming out of the throat. Vaikari means it's like a flood, like an avalanche coming out, hidden by so many different wind tunnels. So therefore, the thought, subtlest form, becomes a gross form and beaten around in my vocal cords. It is going through tremendous pain. It's getting beaten up, shaped up. And then it comes out as a Shakti, as a voice. So I just give an example here because how the visualization given in the word, everything in our Sutra slogans is to bring you the jnanam and give you the abhyasam. Abhyasam, we are going to talk about it later. It is about a tool set to position, anything we want to focus on, study on, you must know what it is. So our mind is, that's why some religion talks the truth about God is no imagery. Why are you worshipping God? Absolutely, they are right. We cannot ridicule them. They are right. But they are right, but they don't have the right tools to reach the rightness. I cannot really think of a God without going through the steps of visualizing the God. But Vedanta goes take one step ahead and say, look, yeah, visualize it, but the God is yourself. Therefore, your visualization goal is to really convert your humanity to divinity. For that, mind is an important gadget. So mind is abused when it is going in a bad way, it is adored when it goes divinely. The mind is in a sandhi. It is difficult to say where it is. I put in here buddhi, ahankara, chitta, but where is this mind? I don't have time now to talk about it, but we'll talk next time. So mind is all over the place, all over the body. So we have not finished this sutra. I wanted to finish today, but I sidetracked. Hopefully it is useful. So we have therefore understood yoga is a sadhyam in this second sutra. Chitta vritti, chitta is antakarana. Chittam, therefore, it refers to the mind, canvas of mind. Vritti is how the impulses happens in its mind. Now we need to understand the last word, Navridda, and then we need to understand how this is going to be executed. Therefore, if we understand the second sutra fully, we understood the whole part of the second chapter. Then the third sutra will tell you what is the benefit of doing the second one, and fourth onwards is just the process. So we will stop there, and then we will say Shanti. Is any volunteer to say Shanti for today? Okay, we say together. Om Asado Ma Satgamaya.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya.
Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya.
Jyotirgamaya.
Mrityoma Amardam Gamaya.
Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raja.
Thank you.